Geoffrey here. Now, when I hear from people who are dealing with a partner who wants space, there's usually a few diagnoses or hypotheses of why they think their partner wants space. The most common one that I hear is that their partner is having a midlife crisis, they're having some sort of depression issues. Their partner might have told them that she needs to really find herself and doesn't know what she wants. She could be dealing with some rough moments and some difficult moments that she doesn't know how to deal with. Or maybe your diagnosis is that she's really non-committal and not ready for a relationship. Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you why none of those things that I mentioned are actually the real reasons. And the problems are actually much deeper, but much simpler than you think. And I'm going to show you the real truth of what she won't tell you, what she can't tell you. And be sure to stick around to the very end of this video because this is a misdiagnosis that gets thrown out a lot. And it really robs you of your chances of ever doing the right things to reconcile in your relationship. And for those of you who are new to this channel, my name is Geoffrey and I help men in long-term relationships or in marriages with the right skills and with the right knowledge to be able to design a thriving relationship for yourself. Now, if you want more content on this topic, then I want you to subscribe to this channel and click the bell button as well to be notified when I post new videos every single week. Now, before we begin this video, I also want to let you know that the free masterclass on the 5 proven steps to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up is still open. So if you want to join that masterclass, be sure to stick around to the end of this video for the announcement on how you can join that masterclass. And so let's just get into the meat of this video and really tell you what are the real reasons why your partner wants space. Again, it's not that your wife is having a midlife crisis, they're having some depression issues, they're wanting space to figure things out for themselves. It's really not that she's non-committal and not ready for a relationship. It's none of these reasons that people typically think it is. The problem here, the root here is that she doesn't feel that there is a culture of trust and safety with you. So the problem here is not that she's having a midlife crisis, but that she doesn't feel the trust and safety to share, to go through that midlife crisis or to go through the depression with you. It's not that she needs time to really find herself and figure things out herself, but that she doesn't have the trust and safety to find and figure out herself with you. It's not that she's dealing with some rough moments and life turmoil, it's that she doesn't have enough trust and safety to deal with those things with you. And for those of you who are not familiar with this concept of emotional trust and emotional safety, or if you haven't been watching my videos much at all, and this is the first time you're seeing me, let's give a quick breakdown of what these two are. There's 2 types of safety. There's emotional safety, which is simply, do you have a culture where you can feel safe to express your deepest, darkest, most sensitive emotions, feelings with each other? In this case, does your partner feel that safety with you? Second type is what we call psychological safety. This is, instead of talking about emotions, do you feel free to express your thoughts and your ideas and your opinions with you? Now, if you have safety, imagine if you have safety in a work setting. This is as if you have a boss who is able to create this deep level of safety with you. Now, if you feel safe both emotionally and psychologically with your boss, then you can not only share your feelings quite openly, but you can share your ideas, thoughts, and opinions openly as well. But if your boss is someone who, let's say, loses his emotions a lot and tends to crack under pressure or tend to react badly when dealing with conflicts, then you are going to start withholding your emotions. You're also going to start withholding your ideas and thoughts and opinions as well. The same goes for relationships. In relationships, it's often really not the conflicts that are the problem, but it's really the lack of safety and trust. Because if you don't have safety and trust, then the conflicts can never be expressed. And if they're not expressed, they can never be resolved. While if you have trust and safety, then the conflicts, whatever conflicts they are, can be expressed. And once they're expressed, they can be resolved as well. So again, the conflicts of her depression, of her midlife crisis, of her wanting to find herself and lost in herself is not the problem. The problem is that there's no avenue, there's no pipeline, there's no trust and safety for you to be able to have those conflicts addressed with you. So if you understand the real reasons why, which is the lack of trust and safety, then we can also start to understand why, if you misdiagnose this, if you, let's say, assign her wanting space to finally her wanting her having a midlife crisis, her being non-committal, and so on, how that can really kill your relationship and sabotage your efforts even further. So let's start here by understanding that right now she already doesn't feel trust and safety with you. Maybe whenever she expresses something to you, that you make too many assumptions too quickly. Or the second thing that people often do is that once their partner expresses something to them, straight away it's a judgment of character. Straight away, if let's say their partner is really sad and depressed over something, you say, hey, you shouldn't be depressed about this. I go through my challenges too and I'm not depressed. Or you try to maybe approach this logically, approach problems logically. So perhaps you misunderstood something you did or misinterpreted something you did, and you're very quick to justify yourself, to explain yourself. Oh, wait, this is not what I was doing. This is actually what I was doing. You got that wrong. This is actually what my intentions were. Or maybe whenever she expresses something to you, you're incapable of deeply understanding, of listening and accepting, and making her feel like she's understood, accepted, and acknowledged. So now, because of this lack of trust and safety, now she tells you that she needs some space to figure things out, to solve the problems on her own, because she knows that you're not going to be there to help. You can't help. Even though you want to help, you're incapable of helping, because every single time she expresses her problems with you, she ends up regretting it, feeling worse about it, and the next time she tells herself, you know what, I'm not going to tell my partner my problems anymore. I'm just going to solve it myself, because whenever I do share with my partner, I just feel worse. Now that you understand that, I want to dig deeper into how does misdiagnosis actually lead to pushing her away even more and making the problem even worse. So when people don't understand that the root of the issue here is with safety and trust, there are three things that people typically do. They either try to regain control, they either try to regain certainty, or regain approval. So let's talk about this, how people typically tend to regain control. So right now their partner wants space, and the first thing they do is to try to get their partner to come back and not want space. And you can do this in a very gentle way, or you can do this in a very toxic way, in a very controlling way as well. But this is when you start to say all these logical appeals of why she should stay. For example, hey, I can help you, you should stay because I can help you. You can't work on these things alone, you have to have someone there with you, and I can be that someone for you. So they will do anything, they will say anything they can say to basically try to pull her back in and try to regain that control that they feel like they've lost. The second part is they try to regain some sort of certainty. So this is when you start getting into the nitty-gritty and the details of, okay, you want some space, how long do you want space for, right? How do I know when you're gonna come back? Well, how do I know that you're not gonna just keep drifting away? Does this mean divorce? Does this, what does this mean exactly? The last part here is when you're trying to regain approval. And again, this is basically trying to beg and show her that, hey, I can fix the issues, that I have changed, I'm going to be different, I am different, and so on. Now, whenever you are trying to do any of these three things, and you're trying to use your logic to try to change her emotions, to try to convince her, you fall into what we call the paradox of logic. Say here that your partner tells you that she wants space because she feels like you're a bit too controlling, and she needs some space because she needs some space to figure things out on herself, and she doesn't want to be in the grips of your controlling nature again. Now let's say you try to do one of these three things, which is your desire for control, you try to regain that control or try to regain that approval. And you tell your partner, hey, honey, partner, I am not controlling. So you logically tell her that you're not controlling. And then she doesn't believe that. When she doesn't believe that, you try even harder to convince her of how you're not controlling. But do you see the paradox of logic here, in that you're trying to show your partner that you're not controlling, but you're doing it in a very controlling way. You are trying to show your partner that you're not controlling by trying to control her into thinking that you're not controlling. Whenever you're trying to use logic to really appeal to someone, to either convince them that they can feel safe with you, they can trust you, that you're not controlling, and so on, if you try to do it in a logical way, you fall into this paradox of logic, where by trying to convince your partner that they can feel safe, you actually destroy safety. By trying to convince your partner that you're not controlling, you actually convince her that you are controlling, and so on. So again, when you misdiagnose this, you're going to most likely fall into this paradox of logic. When you fall into this paradox of logic, that's going to sabotage any actions you do, and it's going to push her away even further, a lot more, and very fast. So how do we actually respond to this? Now, I'm going to show you the short term of what you can respond now, and I'm going to show you directions of some long-term things that you can do. So let's start with the short-term things. Whenever your partner says they want space, the best thing that you can do to start to regain the trust and safety is to first accept, acknowledge the what. The what right now is that she wants space. So the first thing to do is just simply accept and acknowledge the what. So you can say something like, okay, look, I understand you want space. Look, I respect, I acknowledge that. Sometimes I do want space too. Then after you accept, acknowledge the what, I want you to admit and be vulnerable on the why. So in this video, and if you watch many of my other space videos, she needs space videos, you will start to see that there's actually a lot of deeper reasons as to why she wants space. I want you to use all this knowledge that you've gained from all my videos and really try to make a diagnosis of why does she actually want space? Is it because of the lack of safety, lack of trust? And what is it that I did to cause that lack of safety and the lack of trust? And I want you to be able to admit and be vulnerable into the why. So once you say, for example, look, I acknowledge and I understand that you want space. I have been making it very difficult for you to talk to me. And so I understand that, when you're going through this midlife crisis, when you're going through this depression, I may not be the best person to go through it with right now. So just admit that. Admit why she wants that space. Then the third part is thank your partner for sharing and telling you her honest feelings. So whenever your partner wants space, the next thing you should say is, hey, I just want you to know that I appreciate you telling me and having the courage to tell me that you actually want space and that you may not feel safe in this relationship. I think that's actually the kinds of expression that I want to know. I want to know more about your thoughts and how you really feel, and if how you really feel is that you want space. Thank you for telling me that. Then the fourth part here is simply acknowledge again, build off of what you admitted and how you're vulnerable, and state your plans on how you're going to change yourself. So if, let's say the reasons why your partner wants space is because you're not a good listener, you're too controlling, you're too judgmental, address that. So again, I realized that the problem here is that I was too judgmental, I was too controlling, I'm a bad listener. You know what? Well, you get space. I'm going to work on that as well. I'm going to work on those three things, and I want to be there for you. I want to be there for you to create that safety and trust. And that's all you need to say in the short term. That's all you need to say. Now, in the long term, this is when things get more complicated. And there's a lot of things for you to learn in order for you to become a better listener, in order for you to be less controlling, in order for you to regain that safety and trust. This is going to require a lot more knowledge than just what I can present in this one video alone. So I'm going to give you a rapid fire here of the few important things to think about, a few directions of what you need to look for in order for you to be able to regain that trust and safety. The first thing is you have to understand what the frameworks are. So if you have joined my masterclass or if you've watched a lot of my videos, you will know what we call the 3 layers of changes. This is basically starting with frameworks. Layer below that is mindsets. Layer below that is identity shifting. The first thing you need to master if you want to regain that trust and safety is really understand the frameworks. And understanding these frameworks should allow you to understanding the very subconscious and the very paradoxical ways that we destroy safety. I showed you the paradox of logic before, but there's many other paradoxes that you need to know as well beyond that paradox of logic. These frameworks should allow you to start conversations, open up conversations, especially the difficult ones with your partner, and really understand how to get around the resistances. Maybe your partner shuts down, maybe she gets intensely emotional. Basically, despite the negative things that are happening, these frameworks should allow you to dig deeper and gain that really deep understanding of what is actually happening with your partner. And it should allow you to dig deeper until you can say, if I were you, I would have done, thought, felt exactly the same. That's the crucial part, is you have to be able to dig deep until you can say that in your own head. And once you can say that, this framework should also allow you to find the win-wins. And this win-win should be on the emotional level, not on the logical level. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the how of how we can go about doing all these things. I have many other videos that talk about these things. I have resources that I'll show you in this video, and I have a masterclass on that as well. So if you want to learn more, stick around to the end of this video for the announcement on how you can join the masterclass. Now, the frameworks part is actually the easy part. If you take a look at our program curriculum, less than 5% of the program is really about understanding what to say, what to do, the frameworks. The hard part is really about the mindsets. The first is what we call the bulletproof mindset. And in order for you to adopt the bulletproof mindset, this is not a game of willpower. This is not a game of journaling, of taking a walk in the park. It's none of those. It's simply understanding how to reinterpret the events in your life, how to reinterpret your relationship so that you can stay calmer. For example, a great example of this is, in this video, I showed you a different way you can interpret your partner wanting space. So one interpretation you can make is that your partner is having a midlife crisis, she's depressed, she's non-committal, and she's not ready for a relationship. If that's your interpretation of this event, there's a good bet that it's going to make you feel very anxious, it's going to make you panic, it's going to make it difficult for you to stay calm and to have a nice conversation with your partner. But if we reinterpret this to say, okay, maybe this is not that she's non-committal, maybe this is not that she's depressed and having a midlife crisis, she just doesn't have the trust and safety. And once you reinterpret it that way, and once you realize that you can actually have control over creating trust and safety, you will immediately start to feel calmer, feel more clarity, and your emotions will change. This is an example of what it means to be bulletproof. It's understanding how to reinterpret the world around you to make yourself stay calm without using too much of your willpower. And being bulletproof is so crucial because one, in order for you to play out the frameworks, you need to be bulletproof. If you lose your emotions, it doesn't matter how much you've learned about listening, you're never going to listen anymore. The second part is that being bulletproof itself directly creates safety. The same way, if let's say you are dealing with a boss who is really, really bulletproof, that no matter what conflicts, no matter what challenges come his way, he's able to stay calm, poised, and find a solution. It's easy to feel safe with someone like that. It's really hard to feel safe with someone who cracks under pressure, who gets all berserker crazy whenever conflicts come his way. So by being bulletproof, you create safety in direct and indirect ways. The next part is your ability to embrace what we call antithetical thinking. So to understand this deeper, and I have made a video on this, so feel free to check out the video down below in the comments, in the description box below. But to understand what antithetical thinking means, you have to understand the three parts of the thesis. One is you have the hypothesis. And so this hypothesis is essentially what you know to be true, what you think is true, what you think should happen, what you think is right. That's your hypothesis. Now, opposite this hypothesis is your antithesis. This is basically what you know to be not true, what you don't know, what you're missing, what you think is false. Basically, the opposite of your hypothesis here. In the middle of these two, you have what is called the synthesis. This is usually a combination of your hypothesis and your antithesis. And if you look at great thinkers, if you look at top scientists, they will always tell you that neither their hypothesis or neither their antithesis is actually correct, that the correct answer is actually always in the middle, always a synthesis. But here's the catch. You cannot find your synthesis without first finding your antithesis. But the problem is that most people never get to explore their antithesis. They only explore their hypothesis. So what are some examples of hypothetical questions or questions that surround this hypothesis that doesn't actually lead you to a win-win? So these are questions like, why are you feeling sad? Why are you feeling like you want space? Why would you want space? Why would you not talk to me? Basically, if you look at all these questions, these are questions, yes, but they're loaded with assumptions already pre-made. You're assuming, for example, that she's already feeling XYZ. You're assuming that there are certain reasons why she does XYZ. You're making a lot of assumptions already, and so while you're asking questions, you're asking what we call leading questions. And leading questions are always hypothetical questions. So how do we start asking antithetical questions? And I made a video on this, and again, the link is below this video. But if we can reframe that first question to be more antithetical, we can ask, for example, I can sense, honey, that you're feeling XYZ. Now, my senses can be totally wrong. My assumptions here can be totally wrong. I guess you tell me, am I right? Am I wrong about me reading you? What are you actually feeling? That's antithetical. There's no assumptions there. And whatever you're assuming is assuming that your hypothesis is wrong. Another thing you can ask is, I'm thinking that you want space because of XYZ. I guess maybe my thinking is all wrong here. Maybe I'm thinking about this in all the wrong ways. Maybe I'm terrible at reading people. I guess you tell me what's going on here. This is essentially asking questions, assuming that your hypothesis may have an antithesis, that your hypothesis may be wrong, and assuming that your hypothesis is wrong. These are questions purely bred out of curiosity and purely bred out of humility. And antithetical thinking is crucial because you need this to be able to show your partner that you can listen, you can understand. This creates safety and trust. This lowers your partner's guards down to create that safety and trust as well. If you understand how to think antithetically, that is how you can really dig deep to really understanding what your partner is all about and what you are all about as well. Now, the next part here is what I call understanding the paradox of change. And the paradox goes something like this. Everyone you talk to, they want to be richer, they want to be more successful, they want to be happier in their relationship. But to get to the outcome, to get to the different outcome, the better outcome, they need to do something different. They need to change their behavior. But the ironic thing is that once you change your behavior, people, the external world, will start to doubt you. They will start to question you. They will start to be suspicious of your changes. This happens whenever you're trying to start a business. This happens when you're trying to change yourself for your relationship. For example, when you try to change yourself, maybe you're asking more questions now. Maybe you are digging deeper. Maybe you're talking in a different way. Your partner is going to blame you for, why are you talking this way? Are you trying to be manipulative? Did you pick some things off YouTube and try to test it out? like she's going to be very suspicious of whatever you do to change. Now, this is where average people and successful people differ. Average people, they take a look at the external doubt, the external suspicion, and they are filled with doubt themselves because they don't have the right mindset. And when they are filled with doubt, they back down, they slow down, they stop doing the changes. And when you stop doing the changes, that will simply prove to other people and your partner that, aha, I knew it. I knew he just picked up some things off YouTube. This isn't real, because the moment he gets resistance, he stops. This is not him. But people who are successful, they understand this. They understand the right mindset to be able to stay strong in their changing selves. And they continue changing despite the external doubt. And eventually, as they become more consistent with this, people will eventually catch up to who they are. So for example, for my clients, because they're so consistent about their changes for 6 to 8 months, there is no other reason their partner would ever say that this is fake anymore, because they've seen so much consistency over time. So this is the paradox of change, in that whenever you try to change, you're gonna feel this external tug to pull you back down. And this paradox is why most people can never change. Most people can never reconcile. Most people can never get the outcomes that they want because they back down. So this is another part of mindset that you need to understand, which is being strong in your identity, being strong in your new identity, being able to shift your identity, and being able to stay strong in your changing self. Now, these are not the only 3 mindsets that you need to master, but if you can master the frameworks and you can master those 3 levels of mindsets, then you are on your way to understanding, to truly understanding how to create the safety and trust. And you are truly understanding how to, in the long term, remedy this problem you have of your partner wanting space. Now, in our program, this process of mastering the frameworks, the mindsets, and also the identity shifting is something that all our students have really, really, truly mastered. And this is why, despite living in different states, sometimes living in different countries and having no contact for 4 months, a lot of my clients are able to reconcile in their relationship despite their partner wanting space. So if you want to understand the process, the exact process that all my clients have used to rebuild the relationship from the ground up, from the point where their partner's wanting space to the point where they're happily ever after, then I want you to join me in my masterclass on the 5 proven steps to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up. In that masterclass, again, I'll show you the exact steps that all my students have used to reconcile in their relationship. So if you want to join that masterclass, click the link above my head or also down in the comments below or in the description box below this video. And if you want to download a free guide where I can show you how you can guide a conversation that creates more safety, that creates more trust, you can also download the free guide I have for you above my head or also down in the comments below or in the description box below this video as well. And finally, if you want to join a community where you can post your questions, post your thoughts, and actually get good advice from myself or other members of the community, then I want you to join me in my free Facebook group down below this video. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts or comments around this video, then I want you to leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you. And if you found this video helpful and eye-opening for you, then like it. It really helps the channel out. And subscribe to this channel for more content like this one. In the meantime, I will leave you with these 2 other videos with more skills and more knowledge to be able to allow you to design a more thriving relationship. For now, I will see you in the next video.